Davis here in Hobart, Tasmania, and we're here for the 30th annual Australian 10-Pin Bowling Congress National Championships.
In the next hour, we're going to look at the history of 10-pin bowling in Australia, when it began and who helped make it the great sport it is today. We'll also cover the 30th National Championships and the Walter Rockway Trophy. Who was Walter Rockway? Well, that question will be answered in the next hour. And to help us out, we've got one of the sport's living legends. The name Dave Davis is synonymous with 10-pin bowling. In a professional career spanning 17 years, Dave won 18 major titles and has the distinction of having bowled the perfect game no fewer than 19 times.
It's exciting, Colin, obviously. You know, the pressure builds as you go. You've got 11 in a row, 10 in a row, 9 in a row, whatever it is. And the longer it goes, the more pressure there is. And 19 times, there's a lot of pressure there to throw that last shot. Just a couple of years after turning professional, you became the #1 money earner in the States. Yeah, I had what you might call a meteoric rise, and very, very happy with it. It was a lot of work, a lot of effort, and a lot of sacrifice to get there.
Of the major wins, has there been one that stands out more than the others?
Yeah, I think the 1975 Firestone Tournament of Champions, when I needed 2 strikes in the last frame to beat a great player named Barry Asher, and I got them, and it's just a thrill to perform when you need to.
Dave retired from professional bowling in 1978. For the next 8 years, he owned and operated Dave Davis Lanes. Since 1988, Dave has been general manager of Don Carter's All-Star Lanes. He's been an active member of the Professional Bowlers Association Tour since 1968 and is widely sought as a television commentator. Dave has travelled to Australia many times and sees a bright future for the sport.
We had a lull for a while. I know that in Australia, speaking with many of the proprietors here in Australia, they're building new centres at a very rapid rate here as they are in the United States. So yeah, it's on a very, very rapid rise right now.
The Australian 10-Pin Bowling Congress has nearly 113,000 members, making it the 9th largest sports organisation in the country. Since its humble beginnings back in 1960, 10-pin bowling has become one of Australia's favourite pastimes, with more than 40,000 people bowling daily at 160 centres around the country. Annually, some 3 million people bowl about 40 million games, and it's estimated that 10-pin bowling is worth around $250 million to the Australian economy each year. This year, the Australian 10-Pin Bowling Championships and Walter Rockway Trophy are being bowled at the Moona Centre in Hobart, Tasmania. Hobart is the smallest of the Australian capital cities with a population of 185,000. In the 30-year history of the National Championships, it's the second time Hobart has been host city. The championships were previously held here in 1983. The Rockway tournament is being bowled in Hobart for the 3rd time. It was first held here in 1976, and then when it became a part of the National Championship fortnight in 1983. One of the leading bowlers at this year's tournament is Tom Curry. Tom is a former South Pacific champion, and he told Dave Davis how he first started 10-pin bowling.
Dave, I started in about 1969, 1970, and I was always very keen on all sorts of sport. I was mainly involved in soccer at the time, and during the off-season, a couple of the guys from work said, come and try bowling. And really, the first time that I picked up the ball and not so much got a strike, but got a spare, I was hooked. And from then on, it was just love at first sight.
Tom, you've had a great career so far. What's been the highlight?
The highlight, no doubt, was in 1985 when a certain gentleman, a certain gentleman that I bowled in the final, you know, provided me with a memory that I will never ever forget.
Well, you beat me up pretty well in that tournament. I have to admit, I did finish second to you.
Tom still holds the distinction of being the only person to beat Dave Davis in Australia. As for the Rockway tournament, Tom says there's none better.
It's the uniqueness of the tournament. Most of us are so used to, say, bowling in singles tournaments most of the year. This is that chance to sort of get all the state rivalry together, and it's 3 days of absolute concentrated pressure. and it's just the atmosphere of it is absolutely fabulous.
Fact. Did you know that 55% of 10-pin bowlers in Australia are women? One of the best is Trisha Cortesis, who's been bowling just 10 years, but has already captained Australia at 2 tournaments.
Trish, what's so special about the Australian Championships, especially from a woman's point of view?
Well, I think the Australian Championships is a tournament where everybody, no matter what average you have, what capability you have, it gives everybody the opportunity to compete. And everybody being housed in the one area at the one time, it gives the lower averages a good chance to learn from the topper bowlers, especially probably having the men around too. We can learn a lot by them.
The Walter Rockaway tournament is a special event each year. How many of you played in, and what's it like to compete in it?
Oh, it's a fantastic tournament. You won't find a Walter Rockaway tournament anywhere in the world. We play 5-man team, and it goes for 3 days, 7 hours a day of constant concentration. It's an extremely enduring test.
In its 30-year history, only 2 players have competed at every Australian National Championship, Don Atkinson and Bob Partridge. Bob is now the Executive Director of the Australian 10-Pin Bowling Congress.
The Congress is the organisation for competitive 10-pin bowlers throughout Australia. We organise competitions and we promote the sport. We promote our bowlers into the competitive stage, and we provide various events for our 115,000 members to compete in.
This is the 30th annual Australian Championships. What do the champions really offer both male and female bowlers?
It gives all our members the opportunity to compete in grades to win a title for 12 months in teams, doubles and singles.
Bob, you've been returning for the first 30 years of this championship. How did you get started?
When I was a lot younger, there was a bowling centre started in our neighbourhood at Coburg in Victoria, and we took the game up, and after being interested, when we heard that the first Nationals were going to be held at Rushcutter Bowl in Sydney, one Christmas in 1962, we thought that having nothing to do on that particular time of the year, we got together a team and we all made the trek to Sydney and competed in that very first one, and we've been coming back ever since.
So too has Don Atkinson, who still competes, but is also actively involved at the grassroots level, being the National Coaching Director.
Well, as coaching director, I'm responsible for the organisation of all the coaching programs in Australia, from the accreditation of coaches from our level O, who are basically responsible for beginner bowlers at junior level, through to right up to our state and national coach, John Pask, who is a level 3 coach. So all the coaching programs and the conduct of courses falls under my responsibility.
Don, tell us about junior bowling here in Australia, and especially about the development program that you have.
Junior bowling is probably the most important part of the sport in Australia, because it's from here that we get our future bowlers, our bowlers of the future. We've got some 15,000 sanctioned junior bowlers, and that accounts for the ones who are currently bowling in some sort of registered competition. In addition to that, there's the entire school program, which is still in operation and doesn't carry a sanctioning as such. In addition to that, there's the elite side of things. The Junior Bowler Development Program caters for the top end of the market, the youngsters who are ready to step out and are ready for international or national competition. We have a program at the Australian Institute of Sport where we take for 2 weeks each year the top 10 boys and 10 girls for a very intense camp with visiting professional Dick Ritka, somebody who you're well familiar with. And the Institute of Sport program is very well thought of by the youngsters, and many of these have already appeared in our international teams.
Jeff Vince is manager of the Moona Bowl, host centre for this year's championships. Jeff has also been a regular competitor at the Nationals, and he well remembers Tasmania's first and so far only win in the Rockaway Trophy.
It did a lot for the sport in Tasmania. We got front page news, and also the state team got nominated for the Confederation of Australia Sports Award, and they won the award for the highest or the most outstanding achievement by a team in 1985. So it was a great result for Tasmania.
As manager for the whole centre here, for the 30th Annual Australian Championships. What is it really going to mean to Hobart to have the championships here?
It's going to do two things. There's over 3,000 entries in the Australian Championships, which will bring in approximately $1.5 million into our economy, into Hobart itself. So, and it will help get 10-pin bowling on the map in Tasmania.
While the national championships are taken very seriously by all concerned, the emphasis is still on enjoyment. That's apparent right from the opening ceremony, where two lucky, or perhaps not so lucky bowlers had their names drawn from a hat. The two are then crowned Joe and Joan Bowler.
There we are. Don't they make a wonderful couple? Now.
The two are then invited to try and bowl the first strike of the championship. Robe, sceptre and all.
Look at this. Oh, it's not quite a strike. Joe, come on. Oh, good loft, and it's done well. He hit the head pin.
Even though neither of you got a strike, I'm going to give you both a ball bag and shoes on behalf of Moona Bowl. Congratulations to both of you.
10-pin bowling is a fun, low-cost sport which can be played virtually any time, and with 160 centres dotted around Australia, almost anywhere. An indication of the popularity of the sport is the growth in membership in the past 12 years. In 1978, there was just over 44,000 registered bowlers in Australia. Now there's almost 115,000. Why do you think the sport's increasing in its popularity?
Well, it's a sport that anyone can do. It's a family sport, very family-oriented. The senior citizens, which I'm approaching that age very shortly here. Also, we have bumper bowling in the bowling centres, and that's where we put bumpers in the gutters so that none of the children will throw the ball in the gutter. I'll get some pins, and we've had children at 2 years of age bowling with it.
I suppose it's relatively low cost.
Yes, it is, and that's a nice thing. The family can go out and have an evening, and it's not going to break them.
The Walter Rockway Trophy is a tournament named after the man who helped set up the Australian 10-pin Bowling Congress.
Well, Walter Rockway came here in late 1961 from his home in Houston, Texas, where he was an American Bowling Congress representative, to help all the people involved in bowling here in Australia to set up the Australian 10-pin Bowling Congress, which is almost an exact copy of the ABC in the United States.
But while Walter Rockway has an annual Australian tournament named in his honour, the man himself has never witnessed the event.
That's correct. He left here in May of 1962. I believe it was 1969 that he passed away. Never once did he ever have a chance to return with his schedule in the United States, so he never did see the Walter Rockway tournament.
I guess Australian 10-pin bowling owes a great deal to Walter Rockway.
Well, they do owe a great deal to Walter Rockway, no question about it, but they've also taken great strides on their own. Walter was the man who set it up, and they've been running with the ball ever since.
New South Wales and Victoria have been the dominant states in the Walter Rockway tournament. Of the 28 men's titles to have been bowled, Victoria has won 12, New South Wales 11, South Australia 4 and Tasmania 1. The women's event started 2 years after the men's. New South Wales has won 11 of the 26 titles, Victoria 6, Queensland 5, South Australia 4. Tasmania, Western Australia, the ACT and Northern Territory are winless, making Western Australia the only state not to have won either a men's or women's Rockway Trophy.
I'm sick and tired of Victoria and New South Wales winning the damn thing. They have dominated it really since day one. And I'm an ex-Queenslander, and we've been trying for years and years to win it. And now that I'm over in WA, we're just really gunning for this, so we want to win this year pretty bad.
The Rockway Trophy attracts the cream of Australia's bowlers who represent their home states in 3 days of intense competition. Each state plays the other once per day. Victoria is favoured to win the men's title at this year's championship.
I think we'll go fairly well. We've got a good team. We've got experienced players, a couple of new faces in the team, but they've still had a lot of experience and a lot of tournament winners. And with the experience we've got and the capabilities of our bowlers, I think we've got a really good show of winning.
And speaking of experience, even Stewart, who at 28 is one of the younger bowlers at the championship, has 17 years in the sport. 4 years ago, he won the Australian Masters title.
And that gave me a chance to represent Australia in the Olympic Games, which unfortunately I didn't make it. I was the world alternate, but I still went and I saw it. It was just an experience to be part of it.
Later this year, Stewart will head to the home of 10-pin bowling, the United States, for competition.
I'm off to Chicago. It's the Brunswick World Open. It's open to, I think, 20 amateur bowlers from around the world, and we play against the actual professional bowlers from their professional tour in America, and they're like the best bowlers in the world, so that should be a good experience.
On paper, New South Wales looks to have a mortgage on the women's Rockway. The team boasts 4 Australian representatives in its lineup.
I think our chances are the best that they've ever been, actually. We've got 3 Australian adult team representatives in our team, along with 1 youth representative that recently went to Guam. They've put in a lot of hard work, and they didn't come this far to come 2nd or 3rd or 4th. We're here to give it our best shot and take home the trophy.
Like all others at the championship, Castle too describes the Rockway as the toughest competition in the world.
It's the most enduring tournament that I've ever come across in the world. Nothing in the world competes with it.
It will be Castle who will spearhead the New South Wales assault on the Rockway. She had a marvellous year in 1990, which led to her winning a World Bowling Award.
It was called the WBW, which is the World Bowling Writers. They voted me the 1990 World Female Amateur Bowler of the Year, based on my international performances for the year and my national performances. It was my biggest achievement of my career. I did have an outstandingly good year last year, and it was just a bonus to be presented with such a prestigious award.
Well, what was some of the highlights from 1990 then that helped you win that award?
I won the South Pacific in 1990. I bowled a 300 in 1990. We went to Jakarta for the Asian Zone FIQ, where I picked up 1 gold in the all events, 2 silver medals in the trios and the 5-man teams, and a bronze in the singles event, and 4th in the Masters.
So to the Rockway tournament, and even on day 1 the signs are ominous. New South Wales has opened up a handy break in the women's, and Victoria is the early leader in the men's. That trend continues on day 2, and after 14 hours of bowling, New South Wales has the women's title in its keeping, while Victoria looks safe in the men's, but its lead isn't impregnable. Their main danger is South Australia, and the 2 meet in the opening match on day 3. South Australia takes the points and makes a slight inroad into Victoria's lead. The Vics, however, bowl well enough for the rest of the day to win the title. One of the best matches on the final day was between South Australia 2nd and 3rd place Tasmania. For New South Wales women, the title was theirs before a ball was bowled on day 3. There was, however, much to play for. With their male counterparts lying 4th, another good day by the women would see New South Wales grab the overall prize, the Trish Datson Memorial Trophy for combined results.
And our winners of the ladies division with 481.2, the girls from New South Wales.
For New South Wales, it's their 12th title in 27 years. South Australia was 2nd, Queensland 3rd, and the ACT 4th.
The men's 1991 Walter Rockway Trophy winner with 490.07, the team from Victoria.
And that's the 13th time Victoria has held the Rockaway Trophy aloft. As was the case in the women's, South Australia was runner-up, followed by Tasmania and Western Australia. After a tight tussle right through the tournament, New South Wales won the Trish Datson Memorial Trophy. Terry Wenban, a winner of 14 national and a host of other titles, sums up the Rockaway.
The Walter Rockaway tournament really is unique. As we've said before, the event is unique in the world in that it is the best team competition anywhere in the world. The atmosphere that's generated amongst the crowd and the determination of the players, the camaraderie that's developed over the week of play is just fantastic. And you've got to realise that they play for 3 days together as a team, and then the next day they're out there playing for the Australian Masters Trophy, and they're all against each other.
As for the results, the win by New South Wales women came as no surprise to Wenban.
They had a very strong team. It could well easily be an Australian team. They had Debbie Viviano, Sue Castle and Sharon McLeish, who have just returned from Singapore for the World Championships. Daniel McAdam, who was an FIQ youth player this year in Guam. It was a very, very strong team. And of course, New South Wales pulled well in front on the first day to lead by 18. They finished leading by 26. Sue Castle was very dominant, having a 197 average for the event. New South Wales had the high team game of 1,078 for the event. And they were very dominating.
In the men's, it was Victoria.
Victoria again, it opened up with South Australia leading the event after the first day, and then the power and the strength of the Victorian team came through on the second day to be well and truly in front with a 20-point lead. Mark Malloy was very dominant in the event, winning 17 out of 21 matches, having the high game of a high series of 207 average. And Victoria in the end won by 9, but it was a great event and Victoria dominated. They sort of faltered a little on the last day, losing to Tasmania and South Australia, but really were the much stronger team and favoured team for the event.
So now we come to